Apparently I'm live now, I think. Something with the kilobytes is going. Oh yeah, okay, 9 seconds on the session. Cool. Well now what do I do? I can't. So this is what my screen looks like to you if you were watching. I think I need to look less uncertain. It's not exactly something it's easy to do when starting because I don't know quite what I'm doing. Camera. I need to look at that. Make it to mimic looking at you. And if I'm looking down, it means I'm looking at me or my screen. Okay, and I can screen I'm looking at, but apparently this one doesn't have a camera attached to it. Okay, so now the camera's added to it. Oh, I see. I need to change. Why is there two chatting? I still don't get that. Yeah, delete scene. Okay. Now we got one chatting. I deleted the wrong one. Okay, cool. Happens. What does it still look like? Oh, because I need to add a layer, don't I? I got the webcam. Guess I'll put chat there. I don't need that anymore. Oops. Oh my. Okay. Excuse me, Mike. There's a background. Let's change it to they're all kind of weird, aren't they? No color. Oh, I deleted it. Okay. Okay, so I have the webcam. Chat. I think that's what this is. Alerts. I'll put that below me. That, and then chat's there, and then let's go on the bottom. Makes sense. I think. Yeah. Fine. Okay. Not very good at color schemes, but I like orange. Tangerine. Nice. I don't know what a host is. I don't know what a raid is. Kind of know what a subscription is. Make that the angry person. Maybe the cat. Not exactly alive. I'll have to figure out that widget thing and have pictures. I don't know what a cheer is. Alright. That's what a follower looks like. Why is it so blurry? Okay. What do I do now? Save so that I don't lose all. Oh, yeah, I still need to add a background. Add scene? No. Layer. Um, color gradient? Maybe? Ooh. It's powerful. Wrong me. I don't know about that. How do I add a background? Background. Add a background. Background. How do I add a background? Yeah, I guess I could put the lamp there. That'd be easier. How am I gonna do that? I don't really want it in the camera. Ooh. Webcam. Chat. What am I doing right now? What am I trying to do? I want to add a layer. Peppa? It's not an image. Alright. Well then, till I figure this out, the background will be black. I think that's okay. Say crop, I say paste. Just toggle. Let me see if I can find the stream. Oh yeah, there's me. Okay, so it comes at a bit of a delay. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. There we go. I can't hear it. Oh, because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. End feedback loop. Stop that. Stop it. Because it's muted. Don't want to hear myself on loop though, so how do I avoid that? Don't want to hear myself on loop though, so how do I avoid that? Don't want to hear myself on loop though, so how do I avoid that? Don't want to hear myself on loop though, so how do I avoid that? Don't want to hear myself on loop though, so how do I avoid that? Don't want to hear myself on loop though, so how do I avoid that? Don't want to hear myself on loop though, so how do I avoid that? Don't want to hear myself on loop though, so how do I hear myself on loop though, so how do I hear myself on loop though? On loop though. 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 How do I fix that? On loop though. How do I fix that? On loop though. It's gonna happen every time I speak. 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 Okay, so it's because the streams. Oh wait. 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 I don't know how to make the back screen not dark like that. Can I still hear myself? I can, okay. I can hear both things going on. Super bizarre, the feedback loop. Super bizarre. I don't know how to avoid feedback this. Super bizarre. I don't know how to avoid feedback. Super bizarre. I don't know how to avoid feedback. Super bizarre. I don't know how to avoid feedback. Super bizarre. I don't know how to avoid feedback. Super bizarre. I don't know how to avoid feedback. Super bizarre. I don't know how to avoid feedback. Super bizarre. I don't know how to avoid feedback. Hello, Raphael. Sorry, I'm learning how to I'm learning how to I'm learning how to work this stream. But thank you. 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 Trying to figure out how not get a feedback loop in my ears. Not get a feedback currently when I speak. Not get a feedback. Currently hear myself on repeat. 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 I'm muted. That's fine. Okay. I'm muted. That's fine. Okay. I'm muted. That's fine. Okay. This has been an hour-long thing. This has been an hour-long thing. Do you have the stream open in a browser? Yes, I do. Open in a browser. Yes, I do. Open in a browser. Yes, I do. Open in a browser. Yes, I do. Do you hear the feedback loop? 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 Do you hear? Yeah. Muted. Okay. Sorry about that. Um. Okay. Now I want to make the chat look less dark. but it seems like my two options are white and black. So we'll go with white. I think it looks better with the colors in the background. Yeah, move that over. And this makes my screen longer. Oh dear. What about if I pull it from that side? No, same thing. Okay. Well, I have a lot of if there is no background. Oh my, okay, what does that mean? See if there is a no background mode. A no back. Oh, I see. A no background mode on the chat. Well, I can change the opacity to 0. That'll work. Yeah, that looks better. Yeah, that looks better. Take it, but a little more. Take it. Do you mean keep the opacity the same or lower it more? Up it a little bit. Okay, so a little higher opacity, something between. How about 10? Let's go with 10. That? Hmm. No. Ooh, keep it light. Stays. Try 20. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. White looks nice. Oh, you prefer the text as white? Like that? Okay. About a 30 opacity. That can work. Yeah. Okay. Um. Hmm. So that's chatting out of the way. Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Um. um so this is the bad one. All right. Cool. Uh, hmm. Okay. Well, I wasn't gonna do any gameplay stuff, so I'm not too worried about the gameplay tab. But I will probably look things up online because I'm probably gonna read some stuff. So I'll try and make it look similar to this. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about um like how much of this I need to have prepped before I do something actually suppose content based because right now I'm just struggling with uh, technology. I've figured out how to attach a webcam computer today and how to attach a mic to my computer today. I have this one, but I figured the quality probably wasn't good enough if I was going to do things like tutoring. But that's where I'm at right now. I got a box to put my monitor on so that I had more room on my desk so that I could actually type or write things instead of having the screen this close to my face. Guess now I'll fix the gameplay. Let's see. Yeah, I got the basic. I have the I found the things I wanted for gear wise. My audio sounds good? Oh, good. I was mildly concerned about that. I found a mic test online that helped me figure out the settings on the microphone I have and which way to orient it because it's orientation based. So that's good. I'm glad. Um, so I have these things up. Game capture, I assume if I were to go somewhere, it would. Okay, so it's not showing a screen. Want to add a layer then? Main screen share, I think is what I'm looking for. Ah, yeah, here we go. Okay. You're doing a game or a program game. Capture is best. Go. I chose not to use OBS just yet because I'm an extreme novice and Twitch Studio had a mild amount of user friendliness for a newcomer. I do have it downloaded though in case I want to stream off of Twitch. Right now, it's doing okay. And it looks the same. Okay. Now what we're wanting. You found me rather quickly, by the way. I opened the stream like 10 minutes ago. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. Hmm. Oh. Well, here I am. I guess now I'm a one viewer stream. Um. Oh, two. I didn't know you were still there. Well, that's nice to know. A two viewer stream now. That's funny. Still trying to figure out this layer thing. Oh, you're coming back. Hmm. Uh, I can't draw, sadly, but I have an interest in music and writing. Writing's a harder thing to display on this kind of platform, so I'm probably going to be reading some art that I'm interested in, and we might get into some light music stuff, but I don't exactly have um, a lot of gear set up for that quite yet. So we'll see. I guess the short of it, yes, I'm trying to be. And possibly a teacher. But it's hard to be a role model when you can't even, I think to the left. Yes, there's my room. Um, I just realized that my camera is, uh, but nothing fancy, no, just a closet and uh, a rice cooker. Add layer 2. There is nothing to hide, and move the cam a bit to the left. Yeah, that's fair. Right. Yeah, there's the rice cooker. Face center. I think it looks centered enough. Where am I from? Originally? Or like, I mean, I've moved a lot, so it might be hard to answer. Oh, you can see the mic now. Yeah, cool. I must have pointed it down a bit. Yeah. The closet door can't close, so I may need to get a curtain or something. Hmm. I have to say, thank you for all the assistance. What type of music am I into? I've got a pretty wide range of genres that I go through. I'm currently in the US. Um, I listen to a lot of indie stuff or smaller artists. I like finding new stuff that I haven't heard before. I like some bigger ones, like, hard to go wrong with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Arctic Monkeys, but there's smaller ones like Lady Lamb, who I really enjoy, and Dom Farah. He's quite good. I like Dom Farah. He does a lot of piano work. Game capture. No. In screen share? Hmm. Still empty, huh? That's a problem. Oh, just trying to figure out the gameplay scene as opposed to the chatting scene. Now the screen is what would you call it? Uh, Portioned off into. Um, because I feel like for the gameplay one, there's supposed to be something in that spot when I click somewhere else. Right now it has the in-screen share. Just screen share. I'm such a fool. How's that? Why is it still blank? Hmm. Oh, thank you for the follow, Raphael. I appreciate it. I'll get a schedule put on the Twitch thing once I figure that out. I'm not the savviest, so but it's coming. Hmm. Oh, thank you as well, Puffin. I appreciate it. I wish you well on your journey to find other zero view streamers. Sorry, I'm not the highest quality, but perhaps I'll get there. No, I'm sad I wasn't first. No. Not much I can do about that, but I do appreciate it. Hmm. Right layer. Oh, link layer, perhaps. Now, when you add layer, you can add the link layer to any. No, I don't want to do that. It should stay in the gameplay spot. I'll unlink that. Hmm. Flip. Hmm. No, anything. I'll probably have to look up a tutorial on this. It'll be sure to look better the second time. This is more of a, what would you call it? A challenge to see if I could actually do it, and I'm glad I went live while doing it because I got some help from you. I would have had to watch a lot of YouTube videos to get this far. Hmm. So webcam chat alerts. Oh, I don't have alerts. Oh, it's just in the center here. Oh, underneath. Don't know if you can see what I'm doing. On the chat. Yeah. It's a lot of transparent boxes getting moved around and not a lot of progress. Let's see. There has to be a way to make it actually show what I'm doing. That's what I thought, but the screen capture is not. Or screen capture? It says screen share, and I think that's the same, but I'll look at the layers again. Yes, webcam browser, goal, countdown media, color gradient, solid color image, chat box, text, Twitch alerts, and main screen share. So I'm assuming screen share because capture any app, window monitor, or capture. Linked layers stay the same across all your scenes. Make sure the screen cap is above the background layer. You know, that might be it. Oh, are they? What? No. Like, this webcam should be on top, and chat should be above it as well, and alerts. Yeah, it looks like wallpaper's on the bottom layer. Oh, when I do it. Oh, Control Z works. It does not. Okay, good to know. If I click the layer, there might be some setting. I sure hope so. You're using the Streamlabs. I'm using Twitch Studio Beta. Um, yeah. Okay. Add layer. Add screen share. Screen share is above. It shows because I can grab. I'll pull up how it looks. Okay. That one's gonna need some work, I think. I have it like I'm not leaving. I'm just looking at that one, make it look nicer. Mm. Aha, here we go. Yes, now we're getting the feedback loop. Yes, this is perfect. This is incredible. Okay, so I go to the layer and I can edit it. That's simple enough. I'm amazed at the things that I struggle to figure out. Thank you again for your help. This is peak quality, I think. Okay, so now I can go to here, to here. See, very nice, very cool. Okay, no then. So now the layers are figured out, I think. Should probably crop this one. Makes it smaller. Rising. Should be. We'll figure that out. Well, thank you, Puff. Okay, so that's Twitch figured. To an extent, I'll figure out how to make the background look more unique, I suppose. And whatever the emojis are, I think I've definitely seen a lot of emojis on Twitch. People seem to like those more than just typing. We'll get there. We'll figure it out. Make that a little larger. What else does this need? What else does a chatting have? I guess we'll go look at Twitch. See what a just chatting page looks like. How do I get there? We'll figure it out. Fine. But when I'm like this, I can't see my own people talking. Hmm. Oh, this is why people have two screens, isn't it? Yeah. Now I understand why people do dual monitors. Hmm. Ah well. Okay. There's Twitch. Insights, community. Remanage. No, no, no. Want. What do I want? Hmm. You can set the screen share to only do one. So, like, you see this screen, or you see, like, my web browser? Oh, you know what else I need to figure out? It's music. Because there's a lot of empty space because I'm not talking the whole time. Even if I were talking the whole time, there'd still be a lot of empty space. So that'll be something. Like if you're showing something in Chrome, you pick Chrome, it will only show Chrome. Oh, I see what you're saying. So, like in the screen share, where'd I go? Oh, the screen. Yeah. Okay, I can make it just Chrome. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now you can see it, but I can't see. And I can do my thing in the back end. Got you. Okay, so I would put something on place while I'm doing stuff in the background. Okay, I can see the application of that. Oh my. Hmm. Hmm. So for now, since I don't have two screens, I may just do a split screen as such. This looks terrible. Okay. Uh, hmm. So that edits it. So now this is all you can see. And then if I go back to gameplay, this is very scuffed in it. That's okay. Ah, perhaps I'll just pick up a monitor. That might be the only. This side only. Yeah, yeah. I might just have to do that. Well, I guess I'm making a checklist of things I need to figure out before I stream again. Should probably write it down, huh? Where's my notebook? Not this one. I don't like writing in this one for that kind of thing. Here we go. The red one. Guess we'll go back to chatting then. Make it into a studying stream, huh? I don't have much to study. I graduated recently. Thank you. Lucky me. I just realized I heard something. This microphone's incredible. It even picks up the paper noise. Wow. Nowhere near the microphone. It's doing that. Alright, so we're gonna figure out music. Gonna figure out Twitch widgets because we need to make it look like it's an actual stream. As high gain or grain? I don't know the terminology very well. What's gain mean? I'm glad my voice makes it sound good. Oh, right, dual monitor. I mean, as it stands, I have it in dual screen. Looks horrible to me, but you can only see my screen, so it'd be okay. High sensitivity, okay. Well, it definitely has that. I can hear it picking up my breathing. When I did the mic test, I was like, wow, this thing's really powerful. More so than the Switch isn't plugged in anymore, so it doesn't matter if it's up or down, but for my own sake, for it being in my peripheral, I'm going to leave it upward. Bend it. Customization, scene, your calm voice and the way speaking. Oh, I could try ASMR. It's not hard to be calm. I feel like there's a lot of high energy on Twitch and um, I guess the content streams in general. So I'm trying to offer a place of refuge, of calmness. Of one of the tags I tried to write was Huga. It's a Scandinavian idea of comfort, being cozy, and I think that how I am, it's easier for me to do that than to be extremely up in arms and high energy. Can it pick up my pen as well? Kind of. It picks up the paper more. Hmm. You're Scandinavian. Oh, well, I'm glad I'm doing a good job of it. Is that how you found it? Is by typing in that word? I thought I heard something relating to my computer, but it was something outside. Me and my friends have done our gaming, and it's tired. We go on Twitch and sort by lowest viewer. Ah, well, easy enough to find me then, huh? That's something I haven't done a whole lot of. I'm actually rather new to the whole Twitch thing. I found like live streaming, having stuff in the background more often than not is distracting to me if it isn't music. Um, but it seems like a lot of people use it as something as a background noise instead of watching it intently. So I think I understand. Work on the comfy aspects of it. I could do just a fire crackling noise, but that seems a little bit like a cop. It's like instead of music, we put a stream on. Okay. I guess it's just a difference of the way we relax. I like music as my relaxation, not so much um, people's voices. I wonder why that is. There's a few people who I would do that with, I think. Um, but still, new concept to me. All right, so I guess I shouldn't put music as much as I should put background. I hope as far as background noise does go, I'm probably gonna pick up a book or two. I think I'm allowed to do that on Twitch, right? I'm allowed to. Are we allowed to read? Should have read the what do you call it? The terms of service better before I decided that was something I was going to do. I figure it's fine with older stuff like John Keats, if you're familiar with him, because his art is a few hundred years old. Um, but as far as modern stories go, like Lord of the Flies, not exactly a calming book, I understand, but things of that era. I'll look that up right now, actually. Let's see. But, what does it see? Oh, only. There we go. Doesn't move with it. Okay, that's fine. So I can see that. I can kind of see chat. Oh, just yeah, I figured it was gonna be newer stuff would have that issue. Well, that's fine. I like the classics. I think makes for an easier experience as well, since it's not new. Most people have come into contact with it. It's an easy enough way to connect with people, I think. Enjoy it. Riveting stuff, isn't it? Reading Twitch terms of service on stream. Oh, there we go. Oh, no, I like that. That's fine. Twitch terms of service. I think. Guess I should look at prohibited conduct. You agree not to violate any law, contract, intellectual property. Okay, so that one. Or third party right. Not to commit a tort, and that you are solely responsible for your conduct while on Twitch services. You agree that you will comply with these terms of service and Twitch's community guidelines and will not create, upload, transmit, distribute, or store content that is inaccurate, unlawful, infringing, defamatory, obscene, pornographic, invasive of privacy or publicity rights, harassing, threatening, abusive, inflammatory, or otherwise objectionable. Any person or entity falsely claim an affiliation with it. Access the Twitch services account or others without permission. Forge another person's digital signature. Misrepresent the source, identity, or content of information transmitted via Twitch services, or perform any other similar fraudulent activity. Well, that's easy enough to do. Um, hmm. Rich terms of service ASMR. Send junk mail or spam to users of the Twitch services, including without limitation unsolicited advertising, promotional materials, or other solicitation material, bulk mailing of commercial advertising, chain mail, informational announcements, charity requests, petitions for signatures, or any of the preceding things related to promotional giveaways, raffles and contests, and other similar activities. Oh, the thing I was thinking of, the, what do you call it? Not the boom mic, this, but the boom thing. What's that called? A desk arm? Something to hang the microphone on, I think, because I'm definitely going to knock this off my desk at some point. I'm glad I'm allowed to read books. I just wasn't sure. I didn't see it as like a, what do you call it? A popular point on Twitch. Didn't seem like something people had done. So I'll try that. Let's I'll pull up some of Keats's poetry. I have his book. I enjoy him. Let's see. Oof. Oh, it's limited by copyright. Let's see. Copyright. The selection was published in 1994, but the poetry was written at the latest 1821. So we should be okay, I hope. And Twitch has a, what do you call it? It has a kill switch if you are doing copyrighted things. I don't know if that applies to books because a little different of a medium. I've seen it, shut down television and all that. This is good for me as well because I want to do a, what do you call it? Refresh my memory on some of these poems. It's hard not to be a fan of Keats. He was very talented. Addressed to Hayden. Great spirits now on earth are sojourning. He of the cloud, the cataract, the lake, who on Hevelin's summit wide awake catches his freshness from archangel's wing. He of the rose, the violet, the spring, the social smile, the chain for freedom's sake, and lo, steadfastness would never take a meaner sound than Raphael's whispering, and other spirits there are standing apart. Upon the forehead of the age to come, these will give the world another heart. And other pulses, hear ye not the hum of mighty workings? Listen awhile, ye nations, and be dumb. Ain't it pretty? Dumb used to mean losing the ability to use your tongue. So to be struck dumb was to be struck silent. I don't know if you knew that. Mild English etymology change. On the grasshopper and cricket, poetry of earth is never dead. When all the birds are faint with the hot sun and hide in cooling trees, a voice will run from hedge to hedge about the new mown mead. That is the grasshopper's. He takes the lead in summer luxury he has never done. With his delights, for when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. The poetry of earth. The poetry of earth. Oh jeez, where'd I go? Is ceasing never. Sorry, you saw the chat open. Did it try my strongest point? It's not for most people. It's not for me either, actually. It's a high commitment thing that I'd say is harder to get into because to get back into reading, to dedicate a lot of time, and it's often boring if you're not a fan of books. But people seem to like audiobooks, so maybe this is a nice medium for people. Having someone read to them to reignite that interest. And maybe poetry is a little tougher as well because it's not exactly ease of going. May have to explain what the lines mean afterward. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening, when the frost has wrought a silence from the stove there shrills, the cricket's song in warmth increasing ever, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost, the grasshoppers among some grassy hills. With I'm glad you like to listen to can't be bothered to read a book. I understand that sentiment. This stream is actually to help me get back into reading it because I have plenty of books, but I always seem to get distracted by things. So having this as an excuse to do it is nice. Perhaps this will be the trend. Well, we'll see if describing what the poetry means is interesting or not. Basically, the grasshopper and the cricket. It's not like Aesop's fables, if you're familiar with that. It's basically they're the same thing. They're both signs of spring and summer being alive. With romanticism, it's rather nice because there's a heavy focus on nature, a heavy, well, romanticization of it. The word has come to mean as of recent. Romance, or romanticization used to mean making it like the Romans. Um, it's only recently become the term for the romantics of the English language. So Keats, Byron, Shelley are the three big ones. Um, I think Tennyson is a prose writer of the romantic. No, he's Victorian. Excuse me. For this one, the poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening when the frost has wrought a silence. Simply, what would you call it? The cycle of life into a poem. And the only instruments given are the grasshopper and the cricket. After dark vapors. After dark vapors have oppressed our plains, for a long dreary season comes a day, born of the gentle south, and clears away from the sick heavens all unseemly stains. The anxious month, relieving from its pains, take as long lost right the feel of May. The eyelids with the passing coolness play. Like rose leaves with the drip of summer rains, the calmest thoughts come round us, as of leaves budding, fruit ripening in stillness, autumn suns smiling at eve upon the quiet sheaves. Sweet Sappho's cheek, sleeping infant's breath, the gradual sand that through an hourglass runs, a woodland rivulet, a poet's death. This one's a little less focused on the cycle of nature and takes a bit more serious, or what's the word? Heavy tone. Keats often stayed in a place of high imagination, and um, he had a great way of describing the natural world in a way far beyond its um, right to be idealized. He was an extreme idealist, but with that, sometimes he would delve into the darker side of it. Never something extremely heavy, but you could see how it weighed on him. He died rather young. He died at 26, and this was actually one of his earlier poems, but he had that weight with him um, because he felt like he was unworthy sometimes, like he had to prove himself because he was a man who didn't come from wealth, like Shelley and Byron did. Both of them were wealthy, born into families, aristocracies, because Lord Byron, uh, he was a lord, obviously, but Keats came from a poor family and felt like he needed to prove himself to show that he could be a poet of the same caliber. And nowadays, we obviously see them as the same, but having that ethos of aristocracy mattered a lot at that time in England for poetry specifically. It was a higher art form That's how it was described, but honestly, if you had the skill, you could join in. There was a similar artist in France. Oh, what's his name? Oh, what a name to blank on. He's very talented. Oh God. Um, that's gonna drive me nuts. It wasn't part of the Romantic era. Was he a contemporary of Baudelaire? I don't think he was. What was he a contemporary of? I can't remember that name either. Hmm. Rimbaud. That's his name. Rimbaud. Let me look it up. Ah, yes, the drunken poet. It's him. Rimbaud. He was part of a. Hmm, compare him to Keats only because he was a man who didn't come from wealth, who found himself in the circles of some of the best poets of the time, and often outclassed them in terms of uh, just raw talent because he wasn't schooled in the art. He simply lived it, which I think is a fascinating way to do it. Chaucer's The Flower and the Leaf. This pleasant tale is like a little copse, the honeyed line do freshly interlace to keep the reader in so sweet a place, so that he here and there full-hearted stops, and oftentimes he feels the dewy drops come cool and suddenly against his face, and by the wandering melody may trace which way the tender-legged linnet hops. Oh, what a power hath white simplicity! What mighty power has this gentle story! I, that forever feel a thirst for glory, could at this moment be content to lie meekly upon the grass, as those whose sobbings were heard of none besides the mournful robins. I like them. I like all of them. It's hard to choose a favorite. Is so calming. I think it goes well with. There's the ever famous Ode to a Nightingale, but I don't know where that one lies in this book, so I can't find it. Ah, I found it. Page 28. Page 28. I'll leave a landmark on or a bookmark there because I feel like that one might get you call it favorite form. Ah, on first seeing the Elgin marbles, my spirit is too weak. Mortality weighs heavily on me like unwilling sleep, and each imagined pinnacle and steep of godlike hardships tells me I must die, like a sick eagle looking at the sky. It is a gentle luxury to weep that I have not the cloudy winds to keep fresh for the opening of the morning's eye. Such dim conceived glories of the brain bring round the hard and indescribable feud. So do these wonders a most dizzy pain that mingles Grecian grandeur with the rude wasting of old time with a billowy main, a sun, a shadow of a magnitude. My spirit is too weak, mortality weighs heavily on me like unwilling sleep. I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of his last poems, knowing how concerned he was with his inevitable death from tuberculosis. It's like he foreshadowed it all his life that he was going to die young, and he made the most of it. I think it's hard to live a full life. It's just barely over a quarter of a century. But to be remembered for such beautiful words, to be buried in a land different than your own, not be able to, 'cause, 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 see the long life that you want with your partner. It's saddening. When I have fears, when I have fears that I may cease to be before my pen has gleaned my teeming brain, for high piled books in charactery hold like rich garners the full ripened grain, when I behold upon the night's starred face huge cloudy symbols of high romance, and think that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance, and when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I shall never look upon thee more, never have relish in the fairy power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, till love and fame and nothingness do sink. It was a point of romanticism to gallop in the extremes of emotion, almost to a point of melancholy as we look at it now, but coming from the era they did of emotional suppression, feeling less feeling than normal, to have these explosive expressions of sadness and happiness was a catharsis, I think, for the writers and for the readers because it showed them that the people could feel and could create with those emotions. Now, obviously, most things aren't uh, taboo like that. We tend to have the dichotomy pretty well covered in terms of being extremely emotional and being emotionally reserved. Um, what I'll say in terms of the digital arts is that we tend to lean more towards the extremes again. And it can often make these poems feel cheap because, well, we feel these motions larger, we feel them bigger. But for the time, and even now, even, it's the mastery of emotion, the way he describes it, not just wiling out, as we'd put it, with great boastful laughter or extreme teariness. It's creating from that extreme instead of just feeling that extreme. That I think separates romantics and the current idea of how to feel those emotions in a heavy way. Not that there isn't modern poetry that hits strongly. I highly recommend A's Berg. However, they have a very different style of writing. They're not very romantic. Most of the conventions have been thrown to the wayside. Actually, I think they're a Scandinavian writer. Um, very surreal. I don't know how it reads when it's translated in its native tongue because I speak English and a bit of French. Um, none of the Nordic languages, sadly. If only. The US doesn't have a fantastic range of language programs. They very much like their English. On the sea, it keeps eternal whisperings around. One day you might be able to speak it. Perhaps that's something I should do on stream is try to learn language. I want this to be like a constructive stream. Somewhere, something there. I do things that help me become a more talented or skilled individual. Um, not that there's anything wrong with like the gaming channels because they're becoming skilled in that. They're skilled in the art of communicating with their chats and They've made an occupation of it. It has honor in its own right, but I'm never going to be that good at games, and so me to have the same level of constructive ability, I need to go a very different route. So perhaps pick up language. Pronunciation is something I think I can pick up fairly quickly. Um, might be hard to stay in the ASMR tones with certain languages like Arabic and even French with the harsh R's and the Q way back in the end of the throat. With Finnish, the vowels might make it difficult. The but we'll see. I really want to read the Finnish epic, their national epic. But I know translations hardly do it justice for things outside of prose because, I mean, poetry stands on its own as an art form because of the meter, the alliteration in English. That's what makes it stand out. In Japanese, it's the meter, but there's not the same rhyme scheme because most of the words rhyme already. One day I do hope to speak it, though. I have to make a chart of languages I want to learn. Obviously, I need to master English before I master the other languages. French is a natural second just because I have a background in it. And then maybe Latin. No one speaks Latin though, so that might be a tough one because there's not a lot of people to help with it. Esperanto is a fun idea of a language, but do I want to speak it? Meh, maybe not. But I know I want to learn Finnish. I think it has an extreme amount of juxtaposition to English in terms of the way the language is styled. Because English is a highly synthetic language and Finnish is highly inflectional. I think it'd be cool. But we'll see. To Homer. Standing aloof in giant ignorance, of thee I hear and of the Cyclades, as one who visits a shore and longs perchance to visit dolphin coral in deep seas. So thou wast blind, but then the veil was rent, for Jove uncurtained heaven to let thee live, and Neptune made for thee a spumy tent, and Pan made sing for thee his forest hive. Aye, on the shore of darkness there is light, and precipices show untrodden green. There is a budding morrow in midnight, there is a triple sight in blindness keen. Such seest, hadst thou, as it once befell to Dian, queen of earth, and heaven, and hell. A great example of it being the Romantics. They used the Roman names for the Greek gods: Jove, Jupiter, Neptune, Poseidon. I should have said Jove is another name for Jupiter, which is another name for Zeus. Neptune is another name for Poseidon. Most of this is well known, but just to show why it was Romanticism rather than Grishism. Doesn't roll off the tongue as well, but that's only because it doesn't have history with them. Happy is England. Happy is England. I could be content to see no other verdure than its own, feel no other breezes than are blown through its tall woods with high romances blent. Yet do I sometimes feel a languishment for skies Italian, and an inward groan to sit upon an Alp as on a throne, and half forget what world or worldling meant. Happy is England, sweet her artless daughters, enough their simple loveliness for me, enough their whitest arms in silence clinging. Yet do I often warmly burn to see beauties of deeper glance, and hear their singing, and float with them about the summer water. A great example of some of the ideals of Romanticism were the desire for the sublime. It went hand in hand with the extremeness of emotion. It was the extremeness of sight, of having a extremely fulfilled life. And often how people did that at the time was to travel. He exclaimed, "Want for Italian skies, to sit on a throne on the Alp, the mountain range that is in Germany, I believe. Um, he had a excursion in Italy specifically. He actually has a museum dedicated to him in Rome. Um, and he was actually buried there as well. He so he fulfilled some of those romantic desires to see the world. It's funny how much he trash talks his own nation because of its artless daughters and the simple skies. I think it's the curse of being born somewhere is often you see it as mundane, just because it's the normal. It's what you see as your baseline for everything. And so if somewhere is more lush, it's more lush. If somewhere's less lush, it's less lush. And so I feel bad for people who live in places like Hawaii because they go anywhere and it's so bleak, so gray, so dry. But in a place like England, which I have not been to, but my understanding is that it's rather cloudy, rather rainy, slightly cold, um, similar somewhat to the Pacific Northwest, I imagine. uh, to go somewhere that's sunny or with extreme mountains, because England isn't exactly the most mountainous place, could be seen as sublime, especially in an era without pictures, but art. Uh, only paintings of such areas that exemplify it. There's a movement of art in Utah. When it first became a state, the pioneers sent their artists all around the world, many to Paris, to study the many art forms. And it happened a bit after this period. Um, well, this period existed in England, but it did carry over to France. In the 1860s, it was about when the pioneers moved to Utah. We're getting slightly off topic, I know. Uh, that is what it is. They sent them in the 1900s. There was remnants of the Romantic style, obviously, but also some of the newer styles, like um, what do you call it? Not abstract expressionism, the one before. What's it called? Um, the minimalist style. The what do you call it? I'm pulling so many blanks right now. Very unfortunate. It happened around the same period as Pointillism. Its name comes from being. It used to be like a derogatory term for the art form, but gosh, what's it called? Um, a word to forget. Not neoclassicism. It was after. Baroque, co, neoclass, not romanticism. Was it just called realism? That doesn't seem right. Impressionism. That's what it was. Impressionism. Pointillism was a form of post-impressionism. Uh, Impressionism was one of the other styles that carried over into the Utah art style. They had many fascinating paintings of the Great White Throne. If you're not familiar with Zion National Park, as many people aren't even in the States, one of the most beautiful parts of Zion National Park is the Great White Throne. It's a huge mountain with a white peak on it. Not snow, it's colored that way. And it just towers over everything. Very pretty. The one who has been long in city pent. To one who has been long in city pent, is very sweet to look into the fair and open face of heaven, breathe a prayer, full in the smile of the blue firmament. Who is more happy when, with heart's content, fatigued he sinks into some pleasant lair, wavy grass and reeds of debonair. Gentle tale of love and languishment, returning home at evening, with an ear catching the notes of Philomel, an eye watching the sailing cloudlet's bright career. He mourns that day so soon has glided by, e'en like the passage of an angel's tear that falls through the clear ether silently. This time chat from Brown Plinko. Oh yeah, one of the default windows is from there. Zion Park. Oh, yes. I've seen that one. Beautiful place, isn't it? I'm actually going to visit it soon. Um, Very excited about it. Living in the States, such a large country, so much to see. Very difficult. Welcome, Brown Plinka, by the way. Currently, we're enjoying the magnum opuses of John Keats. Um, Fantastic romantic poet. Thank you for the follow. We went over some of the history of Romanticism, how some of the art styles were, um, or some of the painting styles that went along with it at the same time, and um, some of the explanations of what makes romanticism, along with the extremes of emotion, the idea of the sublime, where you, oh my, it's getting dark, I'll have to turn a lamp on, sorry. Some ideas of the sublime were not just the extremes of emotion, but the ability to ride those waves into something creative, to sail the ether as it was, and bring back something beautiful for people who couldn't see it. Extremely idealistic, and extremely what you would call nowadays melancholic, or sorry, not melancholic, melodramatic. The heavy emotions, but they're so masterfully interwoven with each other in these sonnets. Sometimes they're sonnets, but these short poems. I think it's beautiful. I just want to share that with you. This last one, to one who has been long in city pent, is another great example of. Obviously, they're all going to be great examples, but this one's a good example specifically of the idea of not despising the city, but longing to be outside of it, or something more natural, or something more beautiful, different, unique, fascinating. To live in a moment that no one else has lived in. And all of the romantic poets from England from this period, the three big ones, Byron, Keats, and Shelley, they all died extremely, um, what would you call it? They died deaths that you would describe as romantic. Keats died of tuberculosis at 26, very young age. Um, while he was abroad, um, he wasn't given the medicine to ease the pain, and so he had a very agonizing end. And at the end, he didn't curse at anyone, but he wished for his lover to be there because he was separated from her at the time. Shelley died in a storm. He was out at sea, chasing the sublime. And Byron died in a war that he really had no part in, no stake in, but he fought in anyway. Despite his lack of military leadership, he was appointed by. Yeah, tuberculosis was a hell back then. Most diseases were a death sentence, so be thankful for penicillin and every antibiotic that's come after. We live in a blessed time. Byron died in the Greek War of Independence. His ship capsized and he drowned. So similar to Shelley in that regard. Very, I say the term romantic. I say that in that it was idealized, that it was something larger than, dying on your deathbed. They died romantic deaths the way I think they wanted to. They embodied the feelings of the art they created, which is hard to do. It's hard to exemplify and embody your art in its entirety. So you have to be impressed. They saw it through to the end, I guess. That they lived their art throughout their life and didn't live long enough to see it fade from them. I think that's a fear a lot of artists have, is that they'll outgrow their art. It's getting very dark in my room. I think I'm going to have to figure out a lighting system. Put the book down for now and do that. That should work for now. I don't have an extreme uh, fancy light setting. It's just a lamp on my bookshelf now. It used to be on the floor. So that'll work. Back to Keats. On sitting down to read King Lear once again, O golden-tongued romance with serene lute. Ah, thank you. I'm glad it's working. May have to make the shadows behind me a little more faded. I think we'll do a curtain or something to hide the closet because it's exactly the most aesthetic. We're going for aesthetics here. You can tell with the romantic poets and the high sensitivity microphone is often pointed out. It's doing a wonderful job of picking up my voice in a way that is soothing to the listener. All right, from the top. On sitting down to read King Lear once again. O golden-tongued romance with serene lute, fair-plumed siren, queen of far away, leave, melodizing on this wintry day, shut up thine olden pages and be mute. Adieu, for once again the fierce dispute betwixt damnation and impassioned clay must I burn through. Once more humbly essay the bitter sweet of this Shakespearean fruit, chief poet, and ye clouds of Albion, the getters of our deep eternal theme. When through the old oak forest I am gone, let me not wander in a barren dream. But when I am consumed in the fire, give me new phoenix wings to fly at my desire. I like that one. I like all of them. I'm probably going to say that at the end of every one of them. Feels good to read a master of meter, to read someone who was so in tune with their language, to create a rhythm without having the rhythm readily available. I think poetry as an art form is often outpaced by music because it doesn't have the rhythm readily available to you the same way. It's built into it, um, much harder to get a crowd bumping to Keats, sadly. Understandably so. But poetry still has its merits. Mm, every art form does. Painting, culinary arts, pottery. Pottery is actually a very interesting one when you think of the way that they tell a story. Actually, there's a fantastic poem by Keats called "Ode to a Grecian Year." I'll have to find it. This wasn't just a very long segue into it. It's not the next page. That's the human seasons. But let's see if we can find that. We'll read that next. Ode to a Grecian Year. Actually, I think there's a table of contents. Perhaps I'll find it. Mm, page 32. Oh, we're almost there. Yes, Ode to a Grecian Year. One of the longer ones, not a sonnet. That's the nice thing about odes, and not about sonnets. Sonnets have the line cap, the line limit, whereas odes can go on, uh, I believe, indefinitely, but they do have a limit as well. They're not epic tales. The human seasons. 4 seasons fill the measure of the year. There are 4 seasons in the mind of man. He has his lusty spring when the fancy clear, taken all beauty with an easy span. He has his summer when luxuriously spring's honeyed cut of youthful thought he loves to ruminate, and by such dreaming high is nearest unto heaven. Quiet coves his soul has in its autumn, when his wings he furleth close, contented so to look on the mists in idleness, to let fair things pass by unheeded as a threshold brook. He has his winter too, of pale misfeature, or else he would forego his mortal nature. A simple and effective analogy between the lifespan and seasons. Obviously, spring is our youth, summer our adulthood, fall our middle age, winter our elderly conclusion. Nowadays, we get about 20 years of each, roughly. Uh, yeah, it's an estimate. Most people, the winter is shorter. Time. And I suppose, thanks to uh, modern era, our spring lasts much longer. The lustfulness and fervor that people can have lasts longer because we have more food, medicine to keep our bodies strong. Often the age doesn't peak through so strongly until somewhere after 30. So sadly, Keats didn't get to enjoy much outside of spring. He still did fantastic things in it. onto pottery as an art form. The fact that it can be painted or unpainted. Really, the curves of it are what tell the story often, but the Greeks had a way of storytelling on their urns, even though they would do it mainly in a two-dimensional style, which is still fascinating, isn't it? That you would put it on something so fragile, so much care given to pottery, so much care even to frescoes, because you're putting it on a building. Maybe we think of it as cheaper and more temporary because of the way we build our buildings, but in the ancient times, those buildings stood long and tall because there wasn't a cheaper resources to build it out of. I mean, there was wood and twine, but that stuff falls over far too easy. So if your choice was stone, you'd obviously go with that. On to Ode to a Grecian Urn. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time, sylvan historian who can't thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme. What leaf-ringed legend haunts about thy shape of deities or mortals, or of both, in Tempe or the dales of Arcady? What men or gods are these? What maidens loth? What mad pursuit? What struggle to escape? What pipes and timbrels? What wild ecstasy? Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, ye soft pipes, play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared. Pipe to the spirit's ditties of no tone. Fair youth, beneath the trees, thou canst not leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare. Old lover, never, never canst thou kiss those winning near the goal, yet do not grieve, she cannot fade. Though thou hast not thy bliss, forever wilt thou love, and she be fair. Ah, happy, happy boughs, that cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu, and happy melodist, unwearied, forever piping songs forever new, more happy love, more happy, happy love, forever warm and still to be enjoyed, forever painting and forever young, all breathing human passion far above, that leaves a heart aye sorrowful and cloyed, a burning forehead and a parching tongue. Who are these coming to the sacrifice? To what green altar, O mysterious priest, leadest thou that heifer lowing at the skies, and all her silken flanks with garlands dressed? What little town by the river or seashore, or mountain built with peaceful citadel, is emptied of this folk, this pious morn? And, little town, thy streets forevermore will silent be, and not a soul to tell why thou art desolate can e'er return. O Attic shape, fair attitude, with breed of marble men and maidens overwrought, with forest branches and trodden weed, thou silent form, dost tease us out of thought as doth eternity, cold, pastoral. When old age shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain in midst of other woe than ours, a friend to man, to whom thou sayest, beauty is truth, truth beauty, that is all ye on earth, and all ye need to know. The famous line. He is going on length about the tales woven into the painting of the urn. He starts with one of a musician who, think of the best melody you've ever heard. Think of your favorite song. Now, most people would think of a different one. Most people can't agree on a favorite song. For some people, it changes with the mood, like how food often tastes better in different environments, how watermelon's better in the heat when it's cold and refreshing, how hot chocolate tastes better in the winter. Um, in similar ways, music can play on the ear different. The benefit of the urn is that music is always going to be perfect to whoever listens to it. because none of us can hear it. The lovers are always going to be in love because they are in that precise moment before a kiss, before they go down the descent of uh, petty squabbles and heartbreaks. They are tuned with that perfect moment of courtship coming to a relationship. He talks about how spring will always be spring, how love will always be love, and the final line of it, beauty is truth beauty. That is all ye on earth and all ye need to know. The line he's most well known for, and the poem he's most well known for. Is there another one? Oh, To a Nightingale. That's the other one I think he's known for. That's the other one. But his sonnets are pretty too, I think. Personally, I enjoy them. Let's see. Where should we go from Road to a Grecian Urn? It's a pretty heavy hitter. We could do prose. I feel like we might need to take a break from Keats on account of reading one of his most famous works. I'll put this here. What should we go for next? We have plenty of books that cover prose, but most of them are what I'd describe as modern. Copyright infringement? Question mark. Can't really do a picture book too well. I think that'd be somewhat diminutive towards uh, listeners anyway. Let's see. Philosophy might be a bit heavy. What other poetry is there? Hmm. We have some epic tales from India. Hmm. I'll think about it, but I'm going to leave for a second and I'll decide when I return. Dun, dun, dun. Returned. Okay. Let's see. I get back. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hello again. Sorry for the hiatus. I needed to get some water. Didn't realize how much. Where'd I put my glass? Oh, it's behind me. I want to make sure I didn't put it too close to the PC. Um, didn't realize how parched I'd get after poetry recitation. I'll move this away from sensitive electronics. Thank you for the message. I did not get lost. Fairly straightforward hallway. Okay, so I think we're gonna go with the Dow Dejing, a fascinating collection of ideas from the mythical Lao Tzu, or Lao Tzu, depending on how you pronounce it. The man was a scholar of ancient China and the founder of what came to be known as Taoism. And the book itself blends the lines a little bit between poetry and religion. In fact, calling Taoism religion is a stretch to begin with because it's not a religion as much as it is a philosophy of being one, being in tune with the surrounding universe, to have the full force of the universe backing your every action, helping you. Oh, you read it last year? How lovely. Well, I hope this is a wonderful recap for you of um, one of the most fascinating ideologies, I think, that came from the ancient world and that has permeated throughout China's history. Let's begin. It can be confusing at times because it is, in a sense, poetry from China, and it's very difficult to translate accurately what that is because Chinese characters are often so packed with meaning and so reliant on what's placed next to them that there's multiple interpretations usually of a idea, and especially with something so airy and idealistic as the Tao Te Ching, that's led to very, not contradicting, but a huge disparity in what the artistry that comes behind translations. Um, Translating a work is a craft in its own right because you're breathing life into an amalgamation of thought in your own language. You have to be a master of two languages. But not only that, to convey that artistry, despite the differences in language, despite the, you know, inherent differences in meter and rhyme. What's that term that the Japanese have? It's it's a reference to not the syllable count, but the stress count. And so the word mouse for us is one syllable, but it has two stress parts because of the diphthong. The ma and the house can be seen as separate. So that Japanese poetry deals with that. Not too familiar with Arabic and Persian poetry, sadly, even though there's a wealth of knowledge there. I'll have to get to it eventually. Part of this whole stream's purpose is to help me become more educated in the poetry and languages of the world. and to deliver it into a way that's soothing to others and makes them maybe want to learn a bit about it as well. I digress. The Dow Dejing. Translation by Manho Kwok, Martin Palmer, and James Ramsey. Gotta find the first page. Long introduction. I'm not gonna read the introduction. That's fine. Chapter 1. The Tao that can be talked about is not the true Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Everything in the universe comes out of nothing. Nothing, the nameless, is the beginning, while heaven, the mother, is the creatrix of all things. Follow the nothingness of the Tao, and you can be like it, not needing anything, seeing the wonder and the root of everything. And even if you cannot grasp this nothingness, you can still see something of the Tao in everything. These two are the same, only called by different names, and both are mysterious and wonderful. All mysteries are Tao, and heaven is their mother. She is the gateway and the womb door. Already on to chapter 2. So as you can see, very short and often complementary ideas make up each chapter. But it's very, what's the word for it? It's airy concepts, hard to grasp. It's treading the line between what can be described with words and what can't, and being in that realm of impossibility for language to take on. It's a noble endeavor, and to some it succeeds, and to others it fails. Understand the Tao is difficult, to say the least. Chapter 2. Beauty and mercy are only recognized by people because they know the opposite, which is ugly and mean. If the people think they know goodness, then all they really know is what evil is like. Nothing and heaven share the same root. Difficulty and ease are part of all work. The long and the short are in your hands. Above and below exist because they each do. What you want and what you say should be the same. Neither future nor past can exist alone. The sage has no attachment to anything, and he therefore does what is right without speaking, by simply being in the Tao. Life, all life, began without words. Life is made, and no one owns it. The Tao is neither selfish nor proud. The Tao is generous and graceful in what it does, without ever claiming any merit. Oh, I saw a bit of a buffer there. Was anything missed? I can go over page again, if need be. If you're zoning out and just enjoying the noise. Okay, cool. Thank you, Plinka. Chapter 3. If the sage refuses to be proud, people won't compete for his attention. If the sage does not buy treasures, then the people won't want to steal them. If the sage governs with vision, then his people will not go wrong. So in his wisdom he restrains himself, by not being greedy for food, by not dominating the state, by keeping himself healthy and fit. The sage always makes sure people don't know what he's done, so they never want to be in control, are never driven by ambition. He keeps them in truth like this, acting invisibly. You see, if there is nothing to fight, well then there is nothing that can break the flow. One thing that has been brought up about ideas behind the Tao Te Ching and some of the what you would call modern philosophy books like what's it called? Learning to not give a you know it follows a lot of the same rules without even knowing it, um, and doing it in a way that people can understand because we are less in tune with the classics as a generation than prior ones. Um, Even more so with classics that come out of a different canon, this being one of the highlights of the Eastern canon. When I say canon, I mean um, with one N, not two, just in case there was a miscommunication. They tread on similar ideas, but one does it in a timeless fashion while the other does it in an extremely ephemeral way, a short lasting way. But there's power in that. Words aren't necessarily useless because they apply to only a single generation. If it does the same thing for that generation that this has done for all the others, then I see good in that. However, knowing that there is this bedrock of ideology that we can always go towards to make sure that we're not treading the same waters, know that we're actually making progress in our wisdom, our art forms, the ever present march of moving forward with our literature. It's important to have a grasp of the classics. And I think the Tao is a place to start. Probably not the place to start on account of its difficulty in translation. I don't know how it is in Chinese. If it's difficult in Chinese as well, I should probably look into that. I'll look into that. I have some stuff to do here. I'll be back in some minutes. Fair enough. I'm glad that you stopped by. Hope to see you again soon. Chapter 4. The Tao pours out everything into life. It is a cornucopia that never runs dry. It is the deep source of everything. It is nothing, and yet in everything. It smooths round sharpness, and untangles the knots. Glows like the lamp that draws the moth. Tao exists. Tao is. But where it came from, I do not know. It has been shaping things from before the first being, from before the beginning of time. Heaven and earth are not like humans. The Tao does not act like a human. They don't expect to be thanked for making life, so they view it without expectation. Heaven and earth are like a pair of bellows. They are empty, and yet they can never be exhausted. Work them, and they produce more and more. There's too much talking. It's really better to stay quiet. There are too many laws, when all you have to do is to hold on to the center. Oh dear, that was chapter 5. Chapter 6. Tao is the breath that never dies. It is a mother to all creation. It is the root and ground of every soul, the fountain of heaven and earth laid open. Endless source, endless river, river of no shape, river of no water, drifting invisibly from place to place. It never ends, and it never fails. Chapter 7. Heaven and earth are enduring. The universe can live forever, because it does not live for itself, and so both last, outliving themselves. The sage guides his people by putting himself last. desiring nothing for himself. He knows how to channel desires, and it is not because he wants nothing that he is able to achieve everything. Sorry, forgive me. And is it not because he wants nothing that he is able to achieve everything? It's an act there. Chapter 8. The Sage's Way. Tao is the way of water. There must be water for life to be, and it can flow wherever. And water, being true to being water, is true to Tao. Those on the way of Tao, like water, need to accept where they find themselves, and that may often be where water goes, to the lowest places, and that is right. Like a lake, the heart must be calm and quiet, having great depth beneath it. The sage rules with compassion, and his words need to be trusted. The sage needs to know, like water, how to flow around the blocks, and how to find the way through without violence. Like water, the sage should wait for the moment to ripen and be right. Water, you know, never fights, it flows around without harm. There is some overlap in these chapters, the ideas of these eternal embodiments, heaven and earth. You'll notice that hell is never mentioned in the Tao, um, because that's not an idea that was common in China. There was heaven and earth, and that was it. There were spirits that could travel between both. There were spirits that stayed in heaven. There were spirits that stayed on earth. Um, but there wasn't a idea of damnation. In the same vein, the way heaven is used is not the same as biblical heaven, or um, a nirvana is a completely different thing. But heaven here is more the afterlife. It is slightly positive. It's not like Hades, and certainly not like Tartarus, but it's not um, Olympus. It's not Valhalla. It was a calm place, a place for sages, a place for enjoying beauty and being in tune with that eternity. Another one of the ideas is the sage. One of the eternal ideas is the sage, a person of boundless wisdom that um, it's often used in place of the poet, the king, the ruler, because the sage could do any. The sage is the best at it. In one of the earlier chapters, the sage is compared to the ruler, and the best a ruler can do, practically invisible to its populace, to have them be so in the back of your mind because they're not doing anything wrong, your needs are met without them having to ask for them. Obviously, it's an ideal. It'd be extremely difficult for a ruler to do that, especially on the scale that governments are today. Um, Even then, during the era that Lao Tzu was from, very difficult. Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Did I miss a page? Oh, I did. Chapter 9. Excuse me. But I had my pen as a bookmark. Hold yourself back from filling yourself up, or you'll tip off your stand. You can hammer a blade until it's razor sharp, and in seconds it can be blunt. You may amass gold and jade in plenty, but then the more you have, the less safety. Are you strutting your wealth like a peacock? And you set yourself up to be shot. You bring about your own disaster because you've got too much. Let go when your work is done. That is the way of heaven. Another one of the foundational ideas, humility. Do not boast about all that you have and all that you want, but satisfied with lesser amount. to not flaunt your riches, but to enjoy a simpler life. There's actually a wonderful book that goes into some of the ideas of Zen and the traditions of tea making and the tea houses of Japan. I'll have to find the name for that. Um, it's a great audiobook. It's on Spotify. Um, why do I always draw a blank when I try to give a recommendation? What was it called? The Art of Tea, I think. I think that's it. Alas. Chapter 10. Can you nurture your souls by holding them in unity with the One? Can you focus your chi, your energy, and become as supple, as yielding as a baby? Can you clear your mind of all its dross without throwing out the Tao with it? Can you do it without self interest so you shine like a diamond? Can you love the people of your nation without being pulled into action? Can you turn yourself around and let her rise up over you? The world spans out in four directions. And can you be as embracing, birthing, nurturing, and sustaining? The Tao does this unceasingly. It gives without holding on to what it's made. It gives everything essence without reward. It knows without flaunting it. It is serene beyond desiring. And this is its virtue and its source. Chapter 11. 30 spokes on a cartwheel go towards the hub that is the center. But look, there is nothing at the center, and that is precisely why it works. If you mold a cup, you have to make a hollow. It is the emptiness within it that makes it useful, in a house or room. It is the empty spaces, the doors, the windows that make it usable. They all use what they are made of, do what they do, but without their nothingness, they would be nothing. Don't you just love the Tao? Don't you love the simple explanation of some things are the way they are because of what they lack? Reminds me of a donut. All that wisdom made donut. But something I've noticed about the Tao is because of its age, because of its um, well knownness, its fame, the way it's expanded over the years. Often its ideas, you could take them for granted. You could take them as a, well, duh, of course that's how it is. We don't realize just how far reaching um, much ancient philosophy is in the way we talk about things. For another example, Socratic seminars. We call them that, but before Socratic seminar, that wasn't a thing. Before Plato's Republic, uh, the logical fallacies, we didn't know about them. So much of the logic and framework that we exist in was built so long ago by a myriad of places. Fascinating. Chapter 12. The 5 colors blind the eye, the 5 notes deafen the ear, the 5 tastes deaden the mouth. Riding the chase on horseback over the fields drives you crazy when you overdo it. And wanting what's precious, you do what distorts your being. The sage knows this is his gut and is guided by his instinct, and not by what his eyes want. This is a concept for you if you're unfamiliar with Chinese philosophy is the number 5. For me, it's the elements, colors, the directions. Um, Not wind, oddly enough. Wind is 4. And there's 4 directions, but then there's the 5th, which is the center. But then there's the colors, the notes, the tastes. Bitter, sour, sweet. savory, and salty. Uh, Five colors are white, black, red, yellow, and blue, but possibly green. I think it's blue because those are the three primaries. So, just something to look out for if you're ever getting into Chinese thought. You'll see the number 5. Chapter 13. Most people fret about themselves and their status, but you don't have to do this. What is success and what is failure? If you have prestige and favor, all you worry about is that it'll get taken away. And if you have a lowly place, you are still basically afraid. So both at the root make for fear. But does it mean that success is a problem? It means people are too bound up in themselves. If they weren't so self obsessed, they'd have no need to be worried. If you can put yourself aside, then you can do things for the whole of the world. And if you love the world like this, then you are ready to serve it. One of those ideas that's permeated throughout most of the four great sages, them being Socrates, Jesus, Confucius, and Buddha. Just don't worry about it. They're a lot simpler than they seem. Give love, receive love, all that good stuff. Just be calm, be chill. Chapter 14. When you gaze at something, but see nothing, when you listen for a sound, but cannot hear it, try to grasp it, and find it has no substance. And these three things that go beyond your mind are molded together in the one. Its surface doesn't shine. Excuse me. Its surface doesn't shine, but nor is its base dull. Given this, it is only knowable as no thing. Confront it, it has no head. Come behind it, and it has no tail. If people could follow the ancient way, then they would be masters of the moment. And if you know this way, then you have seen the timeless way of the Tao. In ancient times, the leaders were as subtle as sorcerers. No one knew what they were about to do. How can we describe them to you? They were like soldiers about to cross a cold river, hesitant, watchful, and uncertain. They were cautious, like people who know there is danger. They were overpolite, like practiced guests. They gave way like ice melting. They were simple, like uncarved wood. They were empty, like deserted valleys. They were muddy, like unreflecting water. The mud will settle, and it is hard to wait for it. But if you can, then you can act. If you follow the Tao without pretension, you will never burn yourself out. If you're gathering so far from the Dow Dejing, the Tao is this all encompassing force that isn't a force. It's a thing that isn't a thing because it's everything and therefore it's nothing. It's everywhere and therefore it's nowhere. There's a concept similar in the old Gnostic tradition, if you're familiar with Gnosticism, of the monad. The monad. The monad, I think, is how you pronounce it. The monad is the one, the point where everything emanated from. And it's through that emanation that we get things that are opposite to each other. Because it's something interpreting itself. Therefore, it bastardizes itself. The Tao takes a different approach on that, I suppose, where instead of it being a bastardization. It simply is there. It just is. There is no bad or good about it. It's simply the Tao. And uh, you can't say want because that desire is wrong. Not wrong, it's faulted or mistaken. To want to be in touch with the Tao is to cut yourself out of the Tao. You simply have to be with the Tao. It's not about wanting, it's about being. A different concept than Buddhism, where you also have to remove the want, the being, because the goal is to be extinguished. Everything that exists is for one's torment. The Tao is much more optimistic in that regard. Chapter 16. The sage rules from the purest motives, relying wholly on quiet and inner peace. He watches the seasons rise and fall, and if he knows how things grow, he knows they are fed by their roots, and they return to their roots, to grow and flower and flow. Everything must have its roots, and the tendrils work quietly underground. This quiet feeding is the way of nature. Understand Chang, the principle of nurturing. You can understand everything. Not understanding it will lead you to disaster. If a sage knows this, he can rule, and he will do so with patience and justice. Any man can become wise in this, and he can walk the way of heaven. And if you walk that way, you will be royal in the mastery. Life can end in pain, but if you live like this, under the Tao, you will fill your days with breath. A concept of wholeness, of being, of melting into the Tao, but being wise about it. Because it's not as simple as being one with nature or having passion. It's, well, it's everything. And if it's difficult to describe it in its entirety, that's the Tao, essentially. You have a good idea of what the Tao is if you struggle to explain it completely to someone. Chapter 17. And perhaps you're wondering why the book is so large regarding such few words. It is because it's illustrated. The illustrations aren't um, terribly ornate. I know I said I wasn't going to do picture books, but this is what it looks like. It has the Chinese characters, which I wouldn't be able to read for you, and very faint um, illustrations in the background. They're very subtle, very simple, largely regarded with nature, mountains. You remember the peacock line? There was a peacock on that one. I'll find that one. Yes, here's the peacock. Chapter 9, that's right. It's in the center there. Look at the peacock. So, you're not missing out a terrible much on the illustrations. They don't add terrible amount of content. Um, and the Chinese characters will do you no good. Um, because if you can read Chinese, it's likely you've already read the Tao. But I digress. On we go to chapter 17. The highest form of government is what people hardly even realize is there. Next is that of a sage who is seen and loved and respected. Next down is the dictatorship that thrives on oppression and terror. And the last is that of those who lie and end up despised and rejected. The sage says little and does not tie people down, and the people stay happy, believing that what happens, happens naturally. Something you'll find in most Chinese philosophy is, along with the life philosophy, is the governing philosophy. I don't know how far that spreads into Western philosophy. Um, Hobbes and Machiavelli focused on rulers. Plato and Socrates kind of did that as well. I'm not sure if Nietzsche covered governing as much as he did thought, but at least with the three big philosophies, that is, Taoism, Confucianism, and get his name, but it's a heavier belief based around laws. There's also agriculturalism, but that's kind of a different thing. Not one of the big three, I'd say, for what affects China. Chapter 8. Oh, I'm sorry, Chapter 18. When the great Tao is lost sight of, then people have to try to be kind and gentle. They try to compensate by being clever, but this only breeds hypocrisy and sleight of hand. When families fall out, relationships sour into useless formality. When the nation is misled and in chaos, ministers mouth empty promises. Chapter 19. If the sage could abandon his wisdom and skill, then everyone would be 100 times better off. If the sage could let go of holding the scales, then everyone would flow in the web of harmony. If the sage can give up looking to gain, then there will be no theft or exploitation. Now, while these three things are important, they are not enough. The people themselves need to learn simplicity. They shouldn't need to know more than they do. They should have as few things as possible. Chapter 20. Listen. Give up trying to be so learned. Things will be a lot easier. Is there really any difference between a yes and a no said insincerely? Is there really much of a difference between being angry and pretending not to be? What the people are afraid of, I also need to fear. And what do most people do? They go looking for a good time. They go looking for fool's gold and auspicious signs. Only you see, I am lazy. I don't give a damn about fame or money. I am like a child who cannot bring himself to smile. Forgive me. I'm. Oh no, this is the correct way to read it. Sorry, there's words on both sides of the page and they're labeled different. What do the people want? Money and things. And yet I find I have nothing, and I don't care. I am as unambitious as any fool. Most people seem to be bright and sharp, and how do I feel? Like a blunted sword. The people? The people are like waves of sea, and I am drifting between them, wherever they are blown. And the people are so busy, but I have nothing to bother about. I am a bumpkin, a lout. I am different. I am strange. I live for the mother. Mother being the Tao. If that wasn't readily apparent. Um, the Tao has gone by they, the mother, she. I think that's just the translator's take on it. It could as easily be father and he, I think, but I don't know because I can't read Chinese. And I should probably read more than one translation of this work, because the last one I read had a huge variation in regards to the essence of it. This one seems much more grounded in descriptions that are easily digested. The last one I read was wholly in the aether, completely enraptured by the Tao, and I liked that one. I think with translations, it may be necessary to read more than one to understand it, because unless you can read it pound for pound, the translation likely had to sacrifice something for something. They chose one of the ideas, be it the literal sense, the artistic sense, or the spiritual sense, and had to go fully into that. Like with different interpretations, or excuse me, translations of the Bible. The King James Version kept a very artsy tone, and maybe lost some of the literal sense, whereas the Protestant New Testament variation, I forget the name of it, oh, but it's much more literal, easier to understand for a layman without having to pick up. Would that be Middle English? I think it'd be Middle English. No, no, it's not Middle English, because Shakespeare is technically English. Just it old. No, it's not Old English, because Old English is like Beowulf. Not Middle English. Middle English is Chaucer, I think, because it's somewhat understandable, whereas Old English is practically almost completely a different language. Oh, so many things to learn, huh? One of the earlier chapters said it. Don't be so concerned about all this learning. But I think it means don't pretend to know. Because an insincere yes is the same as an insincere no. To be angry and pretending to not be angry are the same, because you're still feeling the anger. So you may as well show. If you don't know something, you don't know it. Stick by it. Chapter 21. The body of the Tao is mist beyond your eyes. Tao of no body, and yet within it's all creation. Like a seed in the dark and a dim light, and from it comes everything. Root, stem, leaf. Its essence is in everything. Everything is born from the Tao, this Tao. I say so, and I can prove it. From the beginning of time until now, the Tao is eternal because it is creation. How do I know the Tao is the root of all being? Because I know this. Don't you love the circular reasoning that the Dow Dejing offers? So, it's the fascinating certainty with itself that gives the Tao its meaning. I love it. Chapter 22. Learn to yield and be soft if you want to survive. Learn to bow and you will stand in your full height. Learn to empty yourself and be filled by the Tao, the way a valley empties itself into a river. Use up all you are, and then you can be made new. Learn to have nothing, and you will have everything. Sages always act like this, and are children of the Tao, never trying to impress. Their being shines forth, never saying, "This is it." People see what the truth is. Never boasting. They leave the space they can be valued in, and never claiming to be who they are. People can see them. And since they never argue, no one argues with them either. So the ancient ones say, "Bend, and you will rule." Is this a lie? You'll find it is true. Be true to yourself, and all will go well with you. Chapter 23. It is a natural thing to talk sparingly, and surely this is right, because even a great wind and lashing rain do not go on forever. It is naturally so. Both heaven and earth know it. And if neither can hold unto such an outpouring for long, what makes people think they can? If you follow the Tao, all you do will belong to it. If you act with virtue, excuse me, excuse me, if you act with virtue, all you do will have its power. If you lose these, in every way you will be lost. If you go the way of the Tao, it can only be with you. If you go the way of virtue, its purity will sustain you. But if you go the way of loss, then that will be your name. And if you cannot trust, no one will trust you. Chapter 24. A man on tiptoe can't walk easily. The man who strides on ahead is bound to tire. The kind of person who always insists on his way of seeing things and never learn anything from anyone. Those who always want to be seen will never help others to be. The showman is never secretly respected by anyone. People like these, say the wise ones, are as useless as leftover food at a feast. No true follower can relate to them. More of the lessons in humility and being okay with that level of invisibility that comes with being human in a world so full of people. That trying to stick out is not the way to stick out. Being yourself is the truest way to exist because you can't be any other. That being said, to be yourself is to be your best self, to be the form of you that is your zenith, your apex. Most people will never reach it. I certainly haven't reached mine. Hmm. Doing this feels like a step in. It feels like a step in becoming that person that I want. Anyways, I digress. Perhaps I should change the title of this now that I somewhat knew how to use technology. We're just on to reading now. Awesome. Let's see here. How do I do this? Thank you, Blink. Always good to see the input. I'm glad you listened. No, that's not it. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Puffin. The quotations may need to be around poetry as well, because this isn't exactly the poetry of China so much as it is the philosophy. It definitely blurs the lines, but it could be described as poetry. This and the intermediate between ideas of China and the Confucian law-abiding ideas that took over Chinese government. It's like the, would you call it the middle child? Spiritual middle child. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I digress again. I'm supposed to figure out how to change the name of this. How do I do that? Oh dear. Oh no, I'm completely lost. There we go. Okay, now I see myself. Scenes. No, not scenes. Scene transition. No, not scene transition. Dashboard, maybe? Nope, that's definitely took me. Channel H, maybe? Or introduce yourself. Hi. What we do here is bring calm. Likely more that we'll do it at the end of the day than the beginning because I think energy is a better thing to wake up to. But we'll see. For now, I'm thinking later in the day stuff is probably. Also, Scandinavia, what time is it there? I wonder. How do I do this? Why am I so bad at this? Scenes, gameplay, be right back. No. Well. Hmm. No, I don't need to mix my audio. Oh dear. You wouldn't happen to know how to change the tag that puts that like what the stream is about? Because we stopped learning about technology a little while. Now that the stream actually connects the way it's supposed to. Terribly sorry to interrupt the calming words of the Dow Dejing. I'm not quite sure what to call. Yeah, so it says right now learning how to use technology. At the start, I didn't know how to do a stream. No, we'll stay in just chatting because I think that's kind of the best category since we're not doing. I mean, it is IRL, but like, just chatting seems okay. What do you think? Do you think just chatting is fine? I mean, it's not just chatting, but it's like, it's certainly not gaming. It's not, but it's like, it's certainly not. Oh dear, it's again. It's not. I heard a noise. Oh, I have a new follower. It's certainly not. Oh dear, it's again. Hello, Vladimir. Yes. Oh, I have a new follower. It's certainly not. Oh dear, it's again. Hello, Vladimir. On a feedback loop again. Oh dear. Oh no. Hello, Vladimir. The guy is praying. Oh dear, it's again. Hello, Vladimir. Oh, on a feedback loop. I'm trading for something. Hello, Vladimir. Hello, Vladimir. Is the creator dash? Oh no, there's a feedback. I'm trading for something. What is once it's dashboard? I'm trying to edit stream. Once it's dashboard, I'm trying to edit stream. Trying to edit stream. Trying to edit stream. Trying I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. Okay. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. Okay. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. Okay. I was muted. Feedback. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. There we go. Okay. Muted. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. Okay. I was muted. Feedback. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. There we go. Okay. Muted. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. I was muted. Feedback. I'm muted. I was muted. There we go. There we go. Okay. Muted. I'm muted. I was. We'll just figure out how to do this first. I was muted. There we go. Oh dear. We'll just figure out how to do this first. Oh dear. I'm really trying. We'll just figure out how to do this first. Oh dear. Oh dear. How do I do this? I'm really trying. We'll just figure out how to do this first. Did it? Oh dear. Thank you so much. I'm really trying. We'll just figure out how to do this first. Did it? Oh dear. Thank you so much. I'm really trying. We'll just figure out how to do this first. Did it? Oh dear. Thank you so much. I'm really trying. We'll just figure out how to do this first. Did it? Oh dear. Thank you so much. I'm really trying. We'll just figure out how to do this first. Did it? Oh dear. Thank you so much. There we go. I mean, that's closer to what we're doing, I think. Thank you very much, Blinka. I appreciate it. I hope you can hear me. To what we're doing, I think. Okay, my voice is on. Thank you very much, Blinka. I appreciate it. I hope you can hear me. To what we're doing, I think. Okay, my voice is on. Oh dear, oh no. Thank you very much, Blinka. I appreciate it. I hope you can hear me. To what we're doing, I think. Okay, my voice is on. Oh dear, oh no. Thank you very much, Blinka. I appreciate it. I hope you can hear me. To what we're doing, I think. Feedback loop test. Oh dear, oh no. Thank you very much. It's gone. Okay, okay. I figured out that I did a feedback loop test. It's still feedback looping. Why is it feedback? Okay, okay. I'm terribly sorry. I don't know why it's doing that. I did a feedback loop test. It's still feedback looping. Why is it feedback? Okay, okay. I'm terribly sorry. I don't know why it's doing that. I did a feedback loop test. It's still feedback looping. Why is it feedback? Okay, okay. I'm terribly sorry. I don't know why it's doing that. I did a feedback loop test. It's still feedback looping. Why is it feedback? Okay, okay. I'm terribly sorry. I don't know why it's doing that. I did a feedback loop test. Stop it. No more feedback. Still feedback looping. Why is it feedback? Okay, okay. I'm terribly sorry. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm title. How's this? That better. No more feedback. How's this? That better. No more feedback. Title. How's this? That better. No more feedback. Title. How's this? Oh, I'm dumb. I'm so dumb. Okay, I figured out what's going on. Oh, I'm dumb. Better? I don't think I hear it now. Yes, okay. I had it open twice. I closed it once. I did not realize it was open twice. Because I needed to go to the dashboard, and I accidentally opened it. Okay. Okay. Oh, now. Is there a feedback loop now? No. Doesn't sound like it. Okay. Okay, we're good. Okay. Now I know how to use dashboard. Thank you so much. It was good. 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 Much appreciated. Okay, now we shall change stream title. We do that in the dashboard. Stream manager. Which I did it once, I can do it again. Certainly. Oh, edit stream info. There we go. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Simple title. I think that works. Yes. Solid. Okay. Now we can get back to our reading of the Dow Dejing. Also, how is the lighting now? The sun has finally set. So this is all lamplight. It looks like it makes the screen mildly blurry. We're definitely going to do something to cover the background, because right now we just have a wall and a lamp behind me and a rice cooker. Oh, it's on that side. Okay. But again, digressing. No problem. We continue. Chapter 25. Before the world was, and the sky was filled with stars, there was a strange, unfathomable body. This being, this, excuse me, this being, this body is silent and beyond all substance and sensing. It stretches beyond everything, spanning the Empyrean. It has always been here, and it always will be. Everything comes from it, and then it is the mother of everything. I do not know its name, so I call it Tao. I am loath to call it greater than everything, but it is. And being greater, it infuses all things, moving far out and returning to the source. Tao is great. Tao the Great. It is greater than heaven, greater than earth, greater than the king. These are the four great things, and the ruler is the least of them. Humanity is schooled by the earth. Earth is taught by the heaven, and heaven is guided by the Tao, and the Tao goes with what is absolutely natural. This might be a good time to clarify um, that the Tao, when translated literally, means the way, the path. Um, it's well, that's one way to translate it. I don't know if there's others. To my understanding, it's the path is the one true way to live, as described in the Dow Dejing. And as you can see, one of the elements of the Dow Dejing, along with its talk of sages of heaven and earth, is creation. It has a creation myth, while not, you know, terribly explicit in the information it gives. It is still a creation myth. And so perhaps that ties into why it can be called a religion. It's because it has um, that idea of a beginning. Most religions have a creation myth, granted at some point. Anyway, more of the reason why the Tao Te Ching is caught between so many genres. What holds, what you can trust, is the same as this quietness, and it is light-hearted. This quiet, light-hearted silence is the key to being free from emotion. Sage never abandons the Tao. He never lets its weight out of his sight. He may live in a fabulous house, but he never gets caught up wanting to. And though there are always temptations, he stays unswayed and smiles. So why is it that our bright ruler seems so bright, but are you glib and insubstantial? Losing the weight of the Tao means you lose your root, and when you can't sit still, you lose the source. Chapter 27. The sage who goes by the way leaves no traces. The sage who speaks the true law never slips up. He never calculates what profit he can make from what he does. He keeps out thieves with wisdom. He's never robbed. He makes sure the rulers are binding. Sorry. He makes sure the rules are binding, then no one can undo them. He is aware of everyone, leaving no one uncounted. He cares like a parent and wastes nothing. This is the essence of harmony. So a good man is the model for a bad one, and misguided, he is touched by his goodness. Not to follow a teacher here, or to love his precious message, is to lose the way, however clever you are. This is the essence of the matter. Understand the thrust of the yang, but be more like the yin in your being. Be like a valley, parts to its stream. Be like a stream, or the earth, and channel it so it flows to the sea. Be newborn, be free of yourself, be humble, be earthy, be a valley for the whole world. Be a channel for the energies here. Weave them in a true and practical way, so they can link up with the way and become one again. Oneness generates everything. When the sage rules in the light of it, he rules everything. A wise man never tries to break up the whole. Chapter 29. If a ruler behaves as if he's invented the world, he will do no good at all. The earth is a sacred vessel, and it cannot be owned or improved. If you try to possess it, you will destroy it. If you try to hold on to it, you will lose it. Some are leaders then, and others follow. Some drift like the wind, and others drive hard. Some are thick-skinned, and others have no armor. And some are the destroyers, and others they destroy. So now you know why. The sage abandons greed, all false charm, and every last iota of pride. Chapter 30. The Emperor's advisors will never recommend violence if they know what the Tao is. If you use the strategy of warfare, it can only result in revenge. After troops have tramped by, only weeds and nettles grow in the broken ground. There can be no harvest, and everyone is left starving. If you need to take action, only do what is necessary. Never abuse your power. And if you're successful, don't be smug. If you are a success, don't trumpet it. If you think you've won, never overdo it. Those who use force soon end up without it, and this is not the way. And if you do not follow the way, you will die. You'll see how the translation changed from using the Tao and using the way interchangeably now. One other thing to mention about this translation style is the almost colloquial use of English. Many of the what you would call phrasal verbs. Uh, it's something done mainly in English where you have the verb form and then the word that comes after is a conjunction. So, what's a good example? Getting by. It's a very common English phrase. Oh, I'm just getting by. It means to. Only way I can describe it is with other ones of the same forms, just barely scraping by. It means you are sustaining yourself financially or mentally or emotionally. Sometimes all of them, but to get by is to be alive, but barely. To get by is that form, the phrasal verb. And you'll see that in here. Many people don't translate using that. I wonder why these ones did. I don't have an answer because I don't know. Chapter 31. The guide who walks the way never resorts to violence. The sage goes to the left side of the emperor, while the man of war goes to the right. Weapons are terrible things, and no sage will have anything to do with them, unless there is no alternative. The sage wants peace and quiet. No victory is free of grief, and so to celebrate one is to glory in the death of the innocent people. Excuse me. No one who revels in death like this can be true to the way, or is fit to rule in our world. At glad times, the place of honor is on the left. After disaster, it is on the right. So in the army, the officers stand to the left, while the general stands to the right. So the whole thing is staged like a funeral. When a war kills many, we must mourn for them. And if you win the war, you must grieve it. An interesting note on how this chapter and the last chapter, they aren't in direct contest with the Art of War if you've read the Art of War. Chances are, if you've read the Dow Dejing, you may have read the Art of War. But the Art of War goes heavily into warfare at the time. Many of the ideas still carry over today. The aspects focusing on intelligence, on the landscape, the numbers, even. Most of it's changed due to modernity and air forces, automated drones. But the idea of having a better intelligence system, I think, is the eternal idea of the art of war. It talks in depth on the importance of spies and misdirection of your opponents. But the art of war never talks about the glory of war. It doesn't glorify it. It just talks about how to do it in a way where you'll win. The Tao Te Ching is talking about not how to wage war, but how to feel about it in the aftermath or even while it's going. That to glorify the war is to be celebratory of the people who died in it. No way. It is considered outside of the Tao to be happy at the death of part of it because everything is in the Tao. So if someone kills, it's very likely they're outside of it. You can also see elements of how this affects the idea of the Shaolin temples, where they study the martial arts. But it's not. What are we reading? We're reading the Tao Te Ching, Vlad. Earlier we were reading Keats. Let's see where the title. Yeah, the Tao Te Ching. I don't know if that can be read on the screen or not. Let me make the screen bigger. There we go. Yes, that's legible. Yeah, we're reading the Tao Te Ching. It is a book mixing philosophy, poetry, religious aspects. It comes from ancient China, written by a man named Lao Tzu, or Lao Tzu, depending on how you pronounce it. Debatable whether he was an actual person or if he's a mythical figure. Um, but it's a concept of wholeness, to be in order with yourself and to be in order with the universe. That everything moves in that direction when it is natural, and to move against it is to basically stop yourself from doing anything meaningful. That's an interpretation of it. It's very open ended. It is a book with wide ranging ideas, as many of the ancient books have, similar to um, some of Plato's and Socrates' thoughts. However, it doesn't deal with logos as much as it deals with. I mean, it's very much Eastern philosophy, but it deals with calmness. I wouldn't say Zen because it's pre Zen, it comes before Zen Buddhism was a concept in China. Chapter 32. The Tao has no name. It is a cloud that has no shape. If a ruler follows it faithfully, every living thing under heaven will say yes to him. Heaven and earth make love, and a sweet dew rain falls. The people do not know why, but they are gathered together like music. Things have been given names from the beginning. We need to know when we have enough names. This is wisdom. At the beginning of time, the sage gave names to everything, seen and unseen. A ruler who walks the way is like a river reaching the sea, gathering the water, gathering the waters of the streams into himself as he goes. Chapter 33. When you know the true being of another, you can judge. If you truly know the Tao, you will be in the light. It takes forces to control people, but if I am humble, I can never be overcome. If you know what you have is enough, be satisfied. But if you think you don't have enough, then you will never have enough. If you follow the Tao, what you are will last. You will live and outlive yourself again. Following along, Vlad. It's sometimes heady, sometimes nonsensical, sometimes uh, oddly sober in its thought. It has a very wide mix of ideas that it goes over. Trying to think of the ambient noise I want to put on in the background next time I do this. Maybe a fireplace, maybe crickets, maybe music. I have to find that isn't copyright, but we'll get there. For now, we read. Chapter 34. The great Tao goes everywhere, past your left head and your right, filling the whole of space. It is breath to everything, and yet it asks for nothing back. It feeds and creates everything. Excuse me. But it will never tell you so. It nurtures all things without lording it over anything. I have a case of the hiccups. It names itself in the lowest of the low. It holds what it makes, yet never fights to do so. That is why we call it great. Why? Because it never tries to be so. One of the concepts you will return to in the Dow Dejing is trying to be something you're not. It's the easiest way to fail. To fail yourself, to fail the Tao, to fail at living to the fullest extent you could. But to be in tune with yourself, to be in tune with everything around you is the best possible option. And if that means you are destined to be nothing, then you are destined to be nothing, and there's nothing you can do to fight that. It could be seen as pessimistic. It could also be seen as relieving in a sense that knowing yourself relieves you from the stresses of being everything you aren't. That's just one of the ideas that goes behind it. Chapter 35. Everyone will gather to the man who rules in the light of the One. I should mention. Now, there are three terms that are used for the Tao. There is the Tao, which can be either be spelled Tao or Dao, Delta AO, or I don't know T in military. Um, Tarantula AO. There is the way, there is the path, and there is the one. Everyone will gather to the man who rules in light of the one. To trust such a being is to live in true happiness and healing. Good food and sweet music may make you stop you listen in passing, but the Tao, how does it seem? Oh, tasteless and shapeless by comparison. You cannot even hear it. Is it even worth trying to? Yes, my friend, because it is unending. This is the nature of the material things around you versus the ineffable, unknowable spirit of the one. And this chapter is interesting for two reasons because it gives a comparison of the material world, material things like music, the sweetness of fruits, and compares it to the Tao, the silent, the tasteless. Is it even worth trying to find that tasteless, soundless thing? And it says yes, because a song ends, a flavor ends, but the Tao is the spirit of all. It is the thing that made those things. It's the thing that makes you. This chapter is also interesting because it refers to the Tao not just as a concept, but as a being, as a living thing, not a creature per se, not something with a body like me or you, but as a not even as a spirit, more than a spirit, more than a man, more than an animal. It's, it's everything. It's the one. Just to delve into chapter 35. Chapter 36. What is going to be diminished must first be allowed to inflate. Whatever you want to weaken must first be convinced of its strength. What you want to overcome, you must first of all submit to. What you want to take over, you must first of all give to. This is called discerning. You see, what is yielding and weak overcomes what is hard and strong. And just as a fish can't be seen when he stays down in the deep, don't show your power to anyone. This is a concept that is definitely more situated in the world, easier to give real world concepts. To be the thing that is weak and can bend can often save you from destruction. In hurricanes, um, trees that are able to bend often fare much better than ones that are stiff. Palm trees are made for tropical storms. They evolved in an environment where that was common, and so they do really well in that. Whereas stiff trees, um, like pine, the conifers, they don't have as much give to them. I mean, no tree has as much give as a palm. Another example is, I believe I think they're called Argentinian ants, but they are an ant genus, or they're an ant species that, when they encounter another colony, instead of fighting it, they become one colony. Whereas certain types of ants will fight each other, like fire ants, if they encounter another colony because they have the one queen. And that often leads to more destruction uh, than does, you know, constructive ability for the ants. They're putting more resources into warfare. To be weaker, to be smaller, like the Argentinian ants, who get along after they encounter each other. They don't bother fighting. They and they aren't seen as a threat. by the fire ants. I don't know. Nature's strange. But at the very least, they aren't enemies with each other, and so it makes it easier for them to grow as colony. I think there's actually an pandemic. No, not an end. Well, it's not a pandemic because it's mostly in the New World. I think the colonies are rather large. I digress. Chapter 37. The Tao goes on forever. Wu Wei, doing nothing, and yet everything gets done. How? It does it by being everything it does. If people and rulers go by this, then every living thing will be well. And if parts still want to separate, the true leader will use the centrifugal weight of this original, unnameable oneness. It is simple. If no one wants anything for themselves, then there can be peace, and all things will know peace, the way music ends in peace. What's this? TE. There's a strange pause between the two pages here. Let me try and figure out why. Ah, that's why. So what we just covered was the Tao of the Dow Dejing. What we're going into is the day of the Dow Dejing. And then after the coda, but I don't know if that's the third piece of it or if that's the index. Might be the index. No, maybe. No, it's its own thing. Okay, on to the day we move. Chapter 38. The highest kind of man has innate goodness, and that is what he rules with. The lesser man brags about how good he is, and isn't much good, I can tell you. A man of day rules by Wu Wei, doing nothing for himself or of himself. The lesser man acts from his ego, and what he wants is gratification. A man who rules with compassion acts through it, and no one even realizes. A legal man acts judiciously, but he is still serving his own ends. And the rigid man uses laws, and if people don't like it, force. If the true Tao is lost, then morality takes its place. If that fails, we have conscience. When that fades, we get justice. When that disappears, we have the status quo. Confusion reigns. No one knows what's going on. Forecasts and prophecies abound, and they are merely a gloss on the Tao. They are the root of all twisted guidance. So the sage only looks at what is really real. He doesn't just look at the surface. He blows away the dust and drinks the water. He doesn't just go for the flower, but also for the roots and the fruit. Blow away the dust now. Come to the living river. Another showing of that concept of its completeness. That to fall away from the Tao is to lend yourself to evil, to twistedness, to confusion. You're losing what it means to be one with the Tao. If you could call Taoism a religion, it's definitely a philosophy, a life philosophy. It'd be hard to call Confucianism a religion because it tells you to believe not in it, but in other things. I digress. Chapter 39. From its first days, the universe came from the One. The heavens are one and clear and round because of it. The earth is one, and it is its firm, infused foundation. The spirit force is one, with all it brings into being. The valley is a oneness, and so it flows and renews all things. Everything is one. Every living thing is one, and alive. Kings and lords are one in a kingdom that is one, and they can only rule truly because of the One. If heaven wasn't clear, then the sky would fall down. If the earth cannot be peaceful, it will tear itself apart. If the spirit cannot bless, then no one will believe in it. If the valley can't rebirth, then the valley will run dry. If life can't be itself, then life will be nothing. And if the king is nothing, then the world will be at war. Everything has both yin and yang in it, and from their rise and fall coupling comes a new life. The highest authority needs the basement as its base, and the depths are the foundation of the heights. That is why rulers call themselves lonely, like souls in a wilderness who have no home, and in doing so, don't they see then that their roots lie with the people? To see yourself as extraordinary is to stand out like jade among ordinary stones. But what people ignore, the lonely and the worthless, is the rock a true leader finds himself on. You see, you win by losing, and you lose by succeeding. Some more of the cyclical concepts of the Tao. The yin yang has made its name mentioned, I think, 3 times now. This is the first mention of it in the day of the Dow Dejing. Actually, I saw Coda. Does it have the Jing? I don't know why it has that as the name. I don't know what day means in comparison to the Tao. Sadly, there is no Jing. I don't know what Jing means. Alas. Chapter 40. The Tao moves in every direction at once. Its essence is fluid and yielding. It is the maker of everything under the sun, and everything comes out of nothing. Forgive me, reading makes me rather parched. That's the surprising. Didn't know this would happen. I'm glad I have water. Chapter 41. When the wisest student hears about the Tao, he follows it without ceasing. When the average student hears about it, he follows too, but not all of the time. And when the poor student gets wind of it, he laughs at it like an idiot. And if he didn't, then it wouldn't be the Tao. That is why the ancient ones said, the path that is bright seems dull, and the one who is going towards the Tao seems, in fact, to be going backwards. And those who think that the way is easy will find it extremely hard. The greatest virtue is to be empty like a valley. Those who think they are perfect never are. Those who feel that they are feel inadequate to the task, and morals seem to be no more than a contrivance. A great square has no corners. A great work is never done with. A great shout comes from a whisper, and the greatest of forms is beyond shape. Tao without substance, invisible, ever creating, forever creating. Chapter 42. The Tao gives birth to the One gives birth to the Two give birth to the Three give birth to every living thing. All things are held in yin and carry yang, and they are held together in the chi of teeming energy. The very softest thing of all can ride like a galloping horse through the hardest of things, like water penetrating rock. And so the invisible enters in. That is why I know it is wise to act by doing nothing. And how very few understand this. People teach in the world what I know to be true. If you live violently, that is how you will die. What really matters most, your image or your soul? What do you care about? Your money or your life? What's actually the best, making it or losing? If you pour all your energy into one thing, you're sure to harm the rest of your being. And if you invest it all in profit, you'll end up losing the whole lot. If you're not always wanting, you can be at peace. And if you're not always trying to be someone, you can be who you really are and go the whole way. Chapter 45. A great thing done is never perfect. That doesn't mean it fails. It does what it is. Real richness means to act as if you had nothing, because then you will never be drained of it. The greatest straightness seems bent. The greatest ability seems awkward, and the greatest speech like a stammering. Act calmly, not coldly. Peace is greater than anger. Tranquility and harmony are the true order of things. Chapter 46. When the Tao runs the world, the horses work the farms. Without Tao, the horses are led into war along the borders. You see, if people want more and more, it can only lead to disaster. Greed is the seed of apocalypse. It is the rocket fuel of selfishness. Me, me, me. If people could only be glad with all they have, if they only knew it, they'd be happy. You'll see in this chapter far more colloquialism than would ever be in the Dow Dejing, because the phrase rocket fuel. Very surprising to see that in there, actually. But again, concept of humility, of being content with how things exist. There's a anecdote. That's not the right term. A tall tale, a myth, a fable uh, from ancient China, where Confucius, Lao Tzu, the writer of the Tao Te Ching, Confucius, obviously, the writer of Confucianism, and Buddha, the creator of Buddhism, are sitting around a pot of vinegar. One of them, Confucius, dips his finger in and tastes it, and he exclaims, thinking it's wine, that it's far too sour. Buddha dips his finger in and exclaims, also thinking it's wine, that it's far too bitter. Lao Tzu sticks his finger in and tastes it, and he says, this would be great for pickling. His expectation didn't exist before having it. The idea came after. He is content with what he discovered, knowing how to use it, instead of being disappointed with what he has discovered. It's of what there is, not wishing for what isn't. That's another essence of the Tao, I think. Chapter 47. And yes, I probably messed up that anecdote. I'll have to read it again. It may not be Buddha, it may be a different father of Chinese philosophy, but the moral is whichever two are there with Lao Tzu, they're upset with the barrel of vinegar, whereas Lao Tzu is happy with it. Chapter 47. Without going anywhere, you can know the whole world. Without even opening your window, you can know the ways of heaven. You see, the further away you go, the less you know. The sage doesn't need to travel around. Why? Because he can still understand. He sees without needing to see. He never does anything, and yet it all happens. Usually people read because they want to know. But the more you study the Tao, the less you want knowledge. And as you want less and less, you come closer to not doing. Wu Wei, This is the way to get things done. The best way to run the world is to let it take its course and to get yourself out of the way of it. Chapter 49. The sage is never opinionated. He listens to the mind of the people. I am kind to people when they are kind to me. I am kind to them even if they hate me. Virtue, day, is its own reward. I trust those who trust me. I also trust those who have no faith in me. What I give, I receive. Sage is self-effacing. Self-effacing. I don't know that word. Self-effacing and mindful of offense, he sets himself up as his own example. How shall I treat you, my son? Like a child. Let us look up efficacy. Facing. Apparently, efficacy isn't a word. To efface. Erase a mark from a surface. Make oneself appear insignificant or inconspicuous. Okay. So to be self-effacing, a sage is self-effacing and mindful of offense. He is still embodying the Tao. To be that nothing, to be that oneness. Not to stick out, but to internalize everything the Tao is. Thank goodness for the dictionary. Chapter 50. In the normal way of things, every 3 in 10 live long, every 3 in 10 die young, and for those just passing through their lives, that is, every 3 in 10, the chances are the same. Why is this? Well, it all depends on how identified they are with the mundane world of matter. People who know how to live will never do things that threaten their lives, any more than a traveler who knows will run into a tiger or a wild buffalo. Living well is like wearing a kind of armor that nothing can penetrate. Living badly is like being attacked. A practiced sage is invulnerable to attack. That punch like a buffalo's horn, that claw like a leaping tiger, or that stab like a knife in the back. And why is this? Because he is impeccable. Chapter 51. Everything streams from the Tao. Everything is nurtured by day. I should preface. Tao is spelled T-A-O. Day is spelled T-E. And it is the Tao and the day of Dow Dejing. It's day, like day versus night, but I don't know how to pronounce it different. I think it's day. That's how I've heard it. But I digress. Everything is nurtured by day. Everything is made out of substance. Everything is created by the Tao of nature, and from everything on the earth that surrounds it. So every living thing should bow to the Tao and its virtue, because they are what it is. Everything that breathes comes from the Tao, and the virtue feeds and takes care of it. They grace things without possessing them. They benefit everything but ask for nothing back. They give themselves into everything without seeking control. This is the essence of the original intention. Chapter 52. Every living thing comes from the mother of us all. If we can understand the mother, then we can understand her children. And if we know ourselves as children, we can see the source is her. And, well, if your body dies, there's nothing to be frightened about. If you keep your mouth shut and stay inside, then you'll live a long time. If you blurt out what you think to everyone, then you won't last long. Value littleness. This is wisdom. To bend like a reed in the wind. That is real strength. Use your mind, but stay close to the light, and it will lengthen its glow right through your life. Chapter 53. If all I know is a fraction, then my only fear is of losing the thread. The great way is easy, but people are forever being taken down side tracks. They look after the palaces, but ignore the fields. The granaries are empty, but they wear wonderful clothes. They go about with arms and gorge themselves on fine food and drink. How rich they are! And they have stolen it all from the poor. They are robin barons of now. This is not the real Tao. I think that chapter is about as close as dissidents of the Tao from going somewhere away from it. There have been other chapters that give warning, but that one, contempt, almost despising the wastefulness of the barons who take from the lower class, who take without giving, who dine on cake when there's no bread. That kind of idea. Chapter 54. What is built on rock cannot be pulled down. What is held lightly can never be lost. Meditate on virtue without yourself, and you will find the benefit of virtue. Use it as the ground for the family, and your virtue will last for generations. Take it as your guidance for the village, and the place will blossom for years to come. Use it to guide the nation, and that nation will create abundance. Be guided by it for the whole, and it will flood its ways. It will flood its way over the world. So, look at someone else as you would yourself, and treat other families as you would your own. See your community in other communities. Think of all countries as part of your being, and treasure the world as the round center of everything. How can I see the world like this? Because I have eyes. Chapter 55. Those who have true day are like a newborn baby, and if they seem like this, they will not be stung by wasps or snakes or pounced on by animals in the wild or birds of prey. A baby is weak and supple, but his hand can grasp your finger. He has no desire as yet, and yet he can be erect. He can cry day and night without even getting hoarse. Such is the depth of his harmony. It's stupid to rush around. When you fight against yourself, it shows in your face, but if you draw your sap from your heart, then you will be truly strong. You will be great. Chapter 56. If you do know what it is, don't talk it away. If you do, then you don't understand. Hush. Keep it in, and your doorway shut. Steer clear of sharpness, and untangle the knots. Feel your lightness, and let it merge with others. This, we say, is our basic oneness. The sage who does this doesn't have to worry about people called friends or enemies, with profit or loss, honor or disgrace. He is a master of life instead. To rule a nation, use justice. To win a battle, cunning. But remember, Wu Wei is the only true way. How do I know this? I will explain. The more rules you have, the more unhappy people are. And the more weapons there are, the worse things happen. The more we want luxuries, the more we abandon simplicity by not using. Oof. Mm, terribly sorry. Chapter 58. If you govern with generous hands, then your people will be good people. But if your system is too constricting, then your people will outwit you. Good fortune, we say, can come from disaster, and the reverse is true as well. Who knows where all this will lead? Honesty can flip into deceit in a moment. People trying to be good can fall into the dark, and it can take them years to get out of it. So the sage is like a razor, but he doesn't cut. He is straight as a die, but not pointedly so. He is bright, but not blindingly so. When ruling the world and serving heaven, excuse me, chapter 59. When ruling the world and serving heaven, the sage uses simplicity in everything he does. Simplicity comes from letting go of what you want. If you've been true to yourself earlier in your life, then day builds up in you like a well that never fails. Nothing is impossible then, and nothing can stop you. If you have no limits, then you can hold the state. If the sage can find the mother of a nation, then he will govern for a long, long time. All this comes from his rootedness in the Tao of ages, the mountain of vision and of wings. Bit Ooh, I think I may have to call it here. I'm about 4 hours in and probably eat something. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Puff. Thank you for tuning in. It was nice to have some people here on the first session. I don't know what day I'll return, but I should probably set up a schedule on Discord. No, not Discord, Twitch. Sorry. My website's mixed up in my mind. Um, but we'll see. I'll probably do 2 to 3 a week. I think that's reasonable, and I want to read about them. But for now, farewell. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye, goodbye, and see y'all later. How do I exit this stream? Oh gosh. Hmm. Ah, there we go. Found the end stream button.